Abaribe to speak. You went on to reinforce the sentiments expressed by Senator Abaribe. Abaribe is not of APC. And so any attempt by anyone to distract us from what is obviously a national issue is a disservice to our collective desire to stand firm together and find a solution to what is clearly a national problem that has been there for over 20 years. Mr. President, I am not ashamed to affirm that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing his best.
Correct.
He's doing his best. That we have not yet there doesn't mean that he has done anything knowingly, whether by negligence or lack of interest. Under your leadership, Mr. President, you have encouraged us to approve not once, not twice, special supplementary budget to support our armed forces, arising from the request of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Those requests were not meant for the armed forces to buy ice cream. It wasn't meant for them to do tobola in military nightclubs. They are meant to strengthen the armed forces, to re-equip them, to give them access to acquire modern technology, and to train, and even now, directive to recruit more men and women into the armed forces. Therefore, there can be no question that President Tinubu is doing his best. In moments like this, the devil can come in and make us so confused that we might turn against ourselves and then, by default, allow the enemy to behave as if he's happy at an upper hand. However, what I think we should do, which under your leadership, even in your statement, you have already encouraged us to come up with such suggestion, is in the light of what we now know, what can we begin to do differently and contribute those ideas to support the executive initiative? One there, for example, is, and you amplified it, even in greater details than any one of us in this house, when you revisited the statement by the governor of Kebbi State. Nigerians are entitled to know, and it is no longer national secret, the commander of that area who ordered that those men be withdrawn. It is to be a national secret to be kept within military cycle. Nigeria should know the name, and the person should be brought to justice under the Terrorist Act. Number two, Mr. President.
Is it the view of the Senate that the issue is just canvassed now, that should form part of our prayers?
Yes.
Those who support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. That is taken. Yeah. We will form part of our prayers.
Mr. President, under your leadership, we have passed death penalty on terrorism. This parliament is on record as having done that. Mr. President, I am troubled when, after all the efforts that security agencies and the prosecuting authorities have to invest to secure conviction, because unfortunately the state cannot behave like a mob. So you have to prosecute, follow due process. I am troubled by the conflicting judgment by various high court judges. Where the law says, act of terrorism, if convicted, shall attract death penalty, no judge has a right to pronounce less than that. It is only when you have implemented the law, interpret the law, not the sentiment of a judge, the will of the people as conveyed in a law, then the president can decide if there are reasons for him to do so, whether to commute or to reduce. How can an offense that carry death penalty, a judge reduce it to 20 years in prison? That is not acceptable. But he has violated the laws passed by the parliament. Number three, sir, and this will be the last.
Has that happened in Nigeria already?
It has.
That
Somebody convicted of terrorism was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
No.
Can I be allowed to land?
The Senator, you have
Mr. President, that is the leader of Assad. They have a group.
You have 30
a
seconds.
terrorist group called Assad.
You have 30 seconds to land, but please be guided.
Okay.
Let's concentrate on the issue in discussion.
I will be guided. These are our people. For example, somebody allegedly kills someone who came to attack him on his farm. And because he killed in self-defense, the man was sentenced to death. But there is no evidence that those who have come to attack farmers and kill farmers, there is no evidence that they have been so convicted, sentenced to death. These are some of the issues we have to deal with so that nobody is given any excuse to misunderstand what is clearly a national challenge. I believe
the commander who withdrew soldiers during the Kebbi abduction must be named and tried for terrorism. That's what Senator Adams Oshiomhole said, and honestly, that statement has shaken the whole country. People are talking about it everywhere, online, in offices, and even in marketplaces. It's the kind of story that makes you stop and really think about what is happening in our country. Please like this video and subscribe, because we're going to break this down together calmly and clearly. So here's the gist. A few days ago, in Kebbi State, a group of armed men attacked a secondary school, the Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School in Mega. It was early morning, and they stormed in, taking several girls away. It was one of those moments that brought back old memories. People instantly remembered Chibok, they remembered Dapchi. It felt like that same nightmare again. At first, the news was confusing. Some said a few girls had escaped. Others said no one was found. But later that same day, one girl actually managed to escape and gave security agencies useful information. That one small piece of hope gave everyone courage. Please like this video and subscribe, because this story gets even deeper. Now, fast forward a few days. After pressure from the public and government action, all 24 of those missing schoolgirls were declared safe. Officials said the girls were rescued and handed over to the state authorities. That was good news, everyone was relieved. Parents were crying tears of joy, thanking God, thanking security agencies. The president also celebrated the news, saying those children represent the hope of the nation. But here's where things turned controversial. The governor of Kebbi State, Senator Idris, revealed something shocking. He said that before the attack happened, soldiers had been withdrawn from that area. Imagine that. The very soldiers meant to protect that community were suddenly pulled out. No explanation, no public notice, nothing. That statement caused serious anger across the country. Now, here's what people started asking: who gave that order? Why were soldiers withdrawn from an area that had already experienced attacks in the past? Who took that risk, knowing schools in the north are always targets? That's where Senator Adams Oshiomhole's voice came in strong. He said Nigerians must know the name of the commander who was in charge of that area. According to him, whoever gave the withdrawal order must face the court for what he called an act of terrorism. And that hit the headlines everywhere because, for a senator to use the word terrorism, it shows how serious the matter is. Now, let's pause and think about that. In simple terms, what the senator is saying is that bad decisions that cost lives should not be ignored. If a security officer makes a decision that endangers children, that's not a small issue. He's basically saying accountability must start from the top, not only the people carrying guns in the bush, but also those making critical security decisions in offices. Please, if you agree that accountability should apply to everyone, like this video right now and subscribe. Let's keep talking about things that matter. So, back to the story. When the Senate heard about the Kebbi abduction, they didn't just sit quietly. They moved fast. They invited the security chiefs, they asked for detailed reports, and they started debating new laws. They even talked about classifying kidnapping officially as an act of terrorism, meaning anyone caught involved could face the highest level of punishment possible. They also discussed checking how the Safe School Fund has been used, that's money meant to make schools more secure across Nigeria. Because, truth be told, the question people are now asking is this: with all the money and promises for school protection, why are schools still this open, this vulnerable? If you look at most of these schools, the walls are weak, there's no proper security post, no CCTV, no alarm system, nothing. So, many are asking, where did the money go? And that's why the Senate said, let's audit everything. As all this was happening, the presidency also spoke. President Bola Tinubu congratulated the parents and the people of Kebbi for the safe return of the girls. He said this should not stop the military and the police from rescuing others still in captivity across Nigeria. He talked about the need to keep our schools safe, not just for today but for the future of every child. Now, something else happened around the same time. Reports came in from Kwara and Niger states about copycat kidnappings. In some of those cases, people were taken but later released after security action. So, the Kebbi incident seemed to trigger fear across nearby areas. It's like once criminals see one incident getting big attention, others try to repeat it somewhere else. And that's why the Senate said, we must tighten security and make examples of anyone involved, whether directly or through negligence. Please like this video and subscribe, because I want to share something that really connects to this story. When you look at these attacks, you notice one thing: schools are soft targets. They are easy to enter, and they create emotional reactions nationwide. That's why criminals go after them. It's not only about ransom, it's also about sending fear. But fear cannot continue to control our lives. Now, let's talk about what could have prevented this. If soldiers hadn't been withdrawn from that area, maybe the attackers wouldn't have tried. Even if they did, response time would have been faster. The delay is what made people angry. It's not that attacks never happen anywhere in the world, but when there's a clear failure in protection, someone must answer for it. This is why Oshiomhole's statement hit hard. He said it's not enough to say that we're investigating. Nigerians deserve to know the truth. Because if we don't name who failed today, it will happen again tomorrow. And that's the truth. Now, one thing to also understand is this: the military has internal rules. If a commander gives an order that leads to damage, they are investigated internally first. But what Oshiomhole and others are saying is that, in this case, the issue has gone beyond internal discipline, it's a matter of public trust. And when public trust is shaken, the system must respond openly. People online started reacting. Some said, yes, name the commander. Others said, wait, let them finish the investigation first. Both sides make sense, but what matters most is transparency. That's what builds confidence in the system. So let's also hear from you: should they name him now or wait until all facts are out? Drop your comments below, and remember to like this video and subscribe. Now, here's another important point. After the Kebbi incident, lawmakers began talking about giving communities more power to protect themselves. Some said people should be able to legally defend themselves in extreme cases. Others warned that arming citizens could make things worse. So, right now, Nigeria is at a crossroads between tightening control and empowering local action. But while the debate goes on, one thing everyone agrees on is that children must be safe. A school should be a place of peace, not fear. That's why the Senate also revisited the Safe School Fund to trace how billions meant for school security have been spent. They want to see actual changes: strong gates, better lighting, more patrols, and teachers trained to handle emergencies. And that brings us back to the people, because community support is also key. Most of the time, early warning signs are noticed by locals. When communities and security agencies trust each other, things get better. Someone can report strange movements, and authorities can act fast. That's how many attacks have been prevented in other states. If you are still with me, thank you, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because the more you engage, the more people will see it and learn what's really happening. Now let's look at what's next. The girls are safe, but the bigger question remains, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? It's not just about arresting bandits, it's about fixing the chain that failed, the communication, the protection plan, and the accountability system. Because when soldiers can be withdrawn quietly from a sensitive zone, and nobody explains why, that's a system problem, not just a personal mistake. The Senate is now calling for an independent, time-limited investigation. They want to know when the withdrawal order was given, why it was given, and whether it followed due process. If it didn't, then consequences must follow. But here's the tricky part, the investigation must also protect national security secrets. You can't expose everything, but you must share enough truth so that people know justice is happening. Now, let's be fair too. Sometimes, military redeployments happen because of larger operations elsewhere. But when that kind of movement leaves one community exposed, it has to be planned properly. That's where coordination between the army, police, and local authorities becomes so important. Everyone must be in sync. And when something goes wrong, instead of passing blame, the goal should be to learn from it and fix it fast. That's the kind of system that works. That's why this story is not just about Kebbi. It's about building a new kind of accountability culture across the country. The Kebbi story is sad, but it also shows something positive, that when Nigerians speak up together, action follows. When the public demanded answers, the government responded faster. That's the power of awareness, and that's why stories like this must be told carefully, truthfully, and responsibly. Please like this video and subscribe if you want more real-time updates explained in clear English. Your support helps keep important conversations alive. Now, as we round up, let's remember something. Those 24 schoolgirls are back home, and that is a victory worth celebrating. But until every child in Nigeria can go to school without fear, the job is not done. We must keep asking questions, not out of anger, but out of love for our country and the children who represent our future. Senator Oshiomhole's words may sound harsh, but sometimes strong words are needed to wake up a system. Whether the commander is guilty or not, Nigerians deserve transparency. And that's all people are asking for, the truth. So, as the investigation continues, may this incident push Nigeria towards a better way of doing things, one where soldiers protect schools, leaders protect promises, and communities protect each other. Thank you so much for staying with me through this story. Please like this video right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because I'll be bringing you more updates as soon as new information comes in. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep believing that a better Nigeria is possible.